Hello, everybody. So, over the last few weeks, we have had some really great questions come in. This is one I actually haven't answered for a while, and I think it might be really helpful for several of you out there, and it's taking it all back to the basics. So, here's the question. We don't have a diagnosis yet, but wondered if there was a checklist to see if there could be a possibility of ADHD. They also wondered if ADHD was more common in boys and girls, and if a child does have ADHD, what's the best natural ways to help them? And finally, is there a correlation between ADHD and aggressive behavior? So they're all such great questions, and I'm going to walk through them all today. So stick with me. So first of all, you asked for a checklist for ADHD, and I found a really great checklist from Attitude magazine that I think you'll find really helpful. I am going to put a link to that in the comments below after this live, and to make sure, check back for that when I finish this live. But basically, here are some common symptoms, and it can range from, a few of them to all of them to a couple. And so every kid is so different. But some of the really main ones, things like having a short attention span. Hyperactivity is obviously a very known common one. Impulsivity is big, fidgeting or restlessness, disorganization and difficulty prioritizing tasks, poor time management and time blindness. They get off into their world of their own and they just completely forget about all and everything else going on around them. Frequent mood swings or emotional dysregulation, that is quite big. Forgetfulness or poor working memory, trouble multitasking and executive dysfunction, inability to control anger or frustration. That was a big one for us with my son when we first started this journey. Trouble completing tasks and frequent procrastination, difficult waiting for their turn, making careless mistakes, does not seem to listen when spoken directly. You can see there's quite a number of things that these categories that they can fall into. Does not follow through on instructions and fails to finish tasks, has difficulty organizing tasks and activities, avoids, dislikes, or is reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort, such as schoolwork or homework, which I'm sure a lot of you are struggling with right now. Loses things often. I remember how many times I had to, buy a jacket for my son in the early days because he just lost it, left it, don't know where it went, disappeared. They're easily distracted, forgetful in daily activities, fidgets with their hands or feet or squirms in the seat, leaves the seat in a classroom or in situations in which remaining seated is expected. For my son, that was never being able to sit down at the dinner table or the breakfast table, literally up and down, up and down, up and down. Now he sits there perfectly, which I'm really happy about. They could run about or climb excessively in situations in which it's inappropriate, has difficulty playing or engaging in leisure activities quietly, appears on the go, or, driven by a motor. That was my son. I felt like he was always on, just constantly going. Blurts out the answers before the questions have been completing, interrupts very often, and has difficulty waiting their turn. So that is a list of common symptoms. I'm going to pop after this live a checklist to that on the Attitude website that you can use to go through. You also asked if ADHD was more common in boys or girls. It is more often diagnosed in boys. However, I will say that it's because a lot of boys have outward facing symptoms. They've got those loud symptoms, whereas girls tend to have those quiet symptoms. And they're like, oh, they're just a girl. They're calm, they're quiet, they're sitting there playing nicely. But with boys, it's usually in your face. And that's why it is more often that boys get diagnosed. But, there is quite a number of girls that do. But a lot of the time they go unnoticed because it is those quiet symptoms. You also asked, what is the best way to treat ADHD naturally? For that one, I am going to pop a link to a video where I share 6 natural interventions to ADHD. I'll pop a link to that in the comments after this training's over. And finally, you asked if there was a correlation between aggressive behavior and ADHD. That is a big yes. Many children with ADHD struggle with emotional regulation and aggressive behavior. So if your child has both aggressive behavior and ADHD, it's very likely that they are connected to one another. But I will say, when children go on a gluten and dairy and soy-free diet, one of the biggest changes that we see is a reduction in that aggressive behavior, the ability to regulate their emotions so much better. And so that is one of the hugest changes and the earliest changes that we actually see when we change the diet. So hope that helps answers all your questions. But as always, if you need any further support, totally reach out to me. One of the best ways I've found to help parents is to get them on the phone so that we can chat about the specific symptoms their child is dealing with and how you as a parent can best help them with these symptoms. So I'm going to pop a link to book a call with my team. It's a free call. I'm going to pop that in the comments below. So if this is something you'd like to do, click on that link. But that's it for today, guys. Hope this burning question, basic ADHD stuff, was useful for you. And I will be back next week with another one. So take care.